Recap City here. In today's video, I'm going to show you an American action thriller from 2022. Sit back and be entertained. The movie opens up in a bathtub with the lead actor, Brick, emptying a gallon of diesel on a middle-aged man, who knelt shirtless inside it with his hands and legs tied. He mumbles and tries to say something but couldn't because Brick had inserted a piece of clothing into his mouth. Brick finally takes out the clothing and immediately the man rains insults at him. Brick asks him a question, and unsatisfied with his answer, Brick lights up a weed and places it in the mouth of the man. Brick leaves him there and walks into the room where lifeless bodies lay on the floor and the bed. Brick sits next to the dead girl on the bed and listens to the news, after which he leaves the building. A few steps away from it, the bomb which he had placed inside the building, explodes. Then Brick walks into the street of the town and all he saw was lawlessness. But, the citizens had just 1 week to continue living like this, 1 week until the government enforces the API, American Peace Initiative. The movie takes us 1 year back into the story and gives a foundational knowledge of the lead character, Brick, and the story in general. Brick was a gangster and together with his squad, he robs the bank after which he gives a part of it to the top gang in the town, the Dumboys. Brick and his team made a toast in a bar for his brother, Rory, who is the heart of the group and was about to do his first stretch in prison. Brick discusses with Rory away from the gang and asks him to remain strong, and be good in the cell. The government is about to launch a scheme called the API in a bid to curb the crime level in the city. With Rory in prison, Brick and the others went to rob a bank as usual, as they did, and the government tested their API at that moment. The sound pitch made it hard for them to continue their operation, so they had to run out from the bank while one of their men gets shot. The head of Dumboys, the highest in command of the town's criminals, demanded his cut from the robbery, but Brick lied to him that they lost all the money. Brick had gotten $7 million, which he planned on using to run to Canada with the team. The plan was going smoothly until Brick received a letter from prison regarding the death of his brother, and it was stated that he committed suicide. This shattered Brick and the team. One of the boys, Johnny D, couldn't take the heat after Rory's death, and then he snitched on Brick and the team to the Dumboys. The Dumboys go after Brick and they take back all of the money, leaving Brick on the run with no money and no food. Back to the present, Brick goes out in search of Johnny D. He finds him hiding in a car parked on a hill after setting up another trap with the Dumboys to capture Brick. Brick approaches him, and after a short conversation, he kills him, then returns to the bar. The barman informs him that the Dumboys men have been coming around in search of him. Behind the bar is a room, and in the room, Brick sees a man in a red suit, and he approaches him. The man is a dealer who sells items. Brick requests a drug that can kill fast from him, and he buys it. As he did, a young lady in a sexy red gown and blue jacket walks in. Brick goes back to his drink and sits at the bar. As he drinks, she comes to him and takes an ice cube from his glass, and requests her drink from the barman. She engages in a conversation with Brick, and seduces him as they talk. She places his hand on her chest, and then she leaves for the toilet with Brick following her behind. Inside the bathroom, Brick takes off his jacket and pins her to the wall, and they both have no strings attached to sex. A young man with long blonde hair walks into the bar in search of Brick. He asks some young ladies in the bar for him. Brick shows up behind him pointing a gun to his head. While the ladies run away, he raises his hand in the air and turns around. He tells Brick about Rory and informs him his brother Rory didn't kill himself but was killed instead. He tries to strike a deal with Brick, as he tells him to get revenge on his brother's killers by helping him steal their money. Just then, the young lady walks out of the toilet and the blonde hair guy introduces her to Brick as his finance. Brick follows them to their home. The blonde hair guy is named Kevin. He narrates the grand plan to Brick, but Brick walks away. Kevin screams out to Brick that he has 24 hours to change his mind. Brick returns to his home. Sitting on the couch, he holds onto a photograph with sadness in his eyes. The photograph had himself and Rory in it. At the station, a group of cops sit down to a meeting. Then a lady with blood splattered over her face walks in. A coup named Sawyer goes to meet the other cops to inform them about the lady, but no one listens. He returns to the reception and finds the lady behind the counter. As he tries to get her out of there, a man points a gun at his head from behind. They both scuffle with the gun inside a cell and Sawyer accidentally blows up the man's head. The other cops run to the reception following the sound of the gunshot. The sergeant instructs Sawyer to return home. Sawyer requests to be sent to work on patrol rather than stay in the office. After spending some time outside, Sawyer requests to register for the implant. The next day, Brick returns to Kevin and decided to go with their plan, but he chips in some ideas. He pulls Kevin to the window outside the building and demands an explanation from him after finding out he was Dumboy's son. They all go to a club afterward to discuss more details about the robbery. Kevin gets his finance upset and she leaves them in anger. Kevin's fiancée goes to see her little sister and without her knowledge, Brick follows her and he realizes she had a relationship with the FBI but he keeps quiet about it. When Brick returns to his place, he finds her there waiting for him. They have sex and then sit outside the building afterward. The next morning, Brick wakes up and doesn't see her. He calls for an old friend and asks him to help out with the plan. Brick takes him to Kevin's place, to stay with Kevin's finance while he goes with Kevin to Dumoise's home. Arriving at Dumoise's home, they get checked at the gate by the boys, before going in. Kevin meets his sister and after greeting he goes to meet his father. An argument breaks out, and Brick takes Kevin's sister outside and locks the door. As the argument gets heated up, Kevin throws a hammer at his father's head and his father fires a gun at him. Kevin activates the bomb he had set in his gun which was collected from him and it blows up. Then he opens up the arms room and takes out some guns. He escapes with Brick. The two separate and agree to meet up again. Brick goes to meet Kevin's fiancée to confront her about why she met with the FBI but gets set up and meets Lonnie, Dumoise's right-hand man. He gets tied to a chair. Lonnie beats him up, then Kevin's fiancée tries to save Brick. She tells Lonnie she had the information he needed. Lonnie orders her to be taken outside and invites the man whom Brick had poured diesel on in the past. He repeats the same thing Brick did and sets the place ablaze. Brick's friend saves him and they go after Lonnie together to rescue the girl. They have a shootout in the streets. Lonnie takes her to his place and injects a substance into her body. As he tries to rape her, Brick shows up behind him and strangles him. He takes her away with him. She explains to him why she met with the FBI and why she works for them. Soon after, Kevin joins them and they discuss final preparations for their heist. They set out for their legendary robbery mission. Kevin and Bryce break into the money vault while the girl hacks into the API system and Brick's friend brings the car. After carrying out their operation, Brick, his friend, and Kevin drive out with the money. However, a cop gets the girl. Kevin shoots Brick's friend and then he shoots at Brick too, but before he could finish off Brick, the FBI arrives and they kill Kevin. The FBI walks closer to Brick. They talk to him and tell him they were going to kill the girl. Posner, one of the FBI, tries to kill Brick but the other stops him as he tells him not to waste his bullet on a dead dog, and then they both leave. Brick takes out the drug he had bought from the dealer long ago, and puts it in his mouth. He regains some strength and then he pulls out his gun. He walks to the car and shoots as he gets closer and doesn't stop shooting until he had killed both men and he had no bullet in the gun. He gets into the vehicle and drives away. He grunts in pain as he drove. The girl battles with the cop inside the building, and after a long scuffle with Sawyer, he dies from a glass piercing through his neck. As she leaves the building she activates a bomb that set the whole place ablaze. She walks outside with her bare foot and the cops try to stop her but she ignores them and keeps walking. Just when they were about to shoot her, Brick drives by and smashes them with the vehicle. She opens the door and jumps in. The two lovers reunite with a hug, after which they kissed. Brick observed her body for bruises. They closed the door then they drove off. They drove into the military zone and ignored the order to stop and just kept driving while the cops opened fire on them. They finally arrive at the Canadian border, and just like before, they are instructed to stop but they ignore the order and drove off still. The next morning, Brick falls asleep and it scares the girl as she thought he was dead. She cried and slapped him continuously on his face until he woke up. She tells him she loves him and then Brick smiles, before finally breathing his last. She sobs bitterly for a while and then she jumps out of the vehicle. She leaves with a bag filled with cash and takes a flask along too. The next morning, some cops arrived at the place the vehicle is and they found Brick lifeless. In the next scene, she stands by the river with the flask in her hand and a sad look on her face. She opens up the flask and throws Brick's ashes into the river, then she grabbed her little sister by the neck and drives away with her. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on post notifications for more amazing videos like this one and click on the like button too.